Okay, great. Thanks, Nancy. Thank you, everyone on the call today. And for those listening to the recording, thanks for joining us. This is social media as a tool for positive change presentation from FxSMC San Mateo County. My name is Joy Pasamonte Henry. I am on the board of FxSMC and also with the communications team. So this is something that communications is something, marketing is something that I do in my day job. And I've found that through my nonprofit work is something that I also fall into. So it's definitely something that I enjoy doing. And just one point here to make is that if you are very comfortable with social media, and that picture on the right is supposed to be a picture of an influencer. So if you are comfortable with Instagram and Facebook and you're posting every day, then this presentation is probably not for you. This is really more for folks who are using social media for personal use, to post pictures of their kids or their grandkids, to like memes about pets and things like that. So this is a way for us to look at social media as a tool for FxSMC and as well as any other nonprofit that we're working with. So we'll take some baby steps. And it's not anyone creating their own posts or anything, but actually just reposting what we have on FxSMC. So we'll go through that in a little bit. So just some really quick statistics about why social media is really, really important in all the work that we're doing today. Face-to-face, there's nothing that replaces that. However, in January 2022, in the world, 4.62 billion people are utilizing social media, and that's all types of social media. So that's more than the entire population on Earth. And it's a way to capture people. Again, just a really quick snapshot. I just wanted to share the daily time spent with different types of media. And this is during the day. So the average use on the internet is about 7 hours. And then if you look over to the right with the bubbles, time on social media. So Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, total time is about 2 hours and 2.5 hours. That's a long amount of time. So we want to get that face time with folks by engaging in social media. And just a couple of things to keep in mind as we think of social media, again, outside of our personal use and the box that we really typically or probably started using social media, is that this is an opportunity for us to engage with other groups. If you look at the FxSMC Instagram page, we have friends with nonprofits that we're currently working with throughout San Mateo County. So it's a way for us to exchange information, to share users and followers on the different types of platforms that we have. It's also a way for us to make our events and the activism that we do accessible to folks, so they can, or we just have to be mindful that the events that we post are accessible. And we do a lot of our events via Zoom, so it is accessible for hopefully everyone. Zoom does have closed captions, so folks are able to read it. And we also take the opportunity to record our sessions as well, so that if you cannot join the session, then you're able to view it at a later date. One of the things to remember is that when you're posting things, it has to be really intentional. There's a lot of noise out there in the world, in the news and in social media. So we're not one of those platforms where we're posting every single day. At this point, we don't need to. There's a lot of work that's been done already to influence the folks that we want to influence, specifically the San Mateo County Board of Supervisors. If it were the other way around and we still needed to gain traction, then this is a great way, again, to educate people about the work that we're doing, why oversight is important, and how to get people on board with our cause, to volunteer, to donate, or to just be a supporter. Any questions right now that come up? Again, I want to try to keep it really informal. So if any questions come up as I'm talking, please feel free to ask either in the chat or just say it out loud. We're a really small group live. Okay. So the things that we're going to talk about today is because we do have channels that we're currently using. And hopefully everybody here has one type of social media, whether it be Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter. So the things that we're going to look at, and if you decide that this is something that you want to do, what I'm going to share today is really what you can utilize, meaning that you can do one of two things. You can repost from your own feed, or you can create your own posts via the emails that you would receive from us. And I'll give you an example here of a post. So let me just pause share and see if I can go over to that other screen. All right. So if any of you have your, so can you guys see my screen? It should be,
Yes.
and I'll try to enlarge it a little bit here. But if you can see this, this is an example of text and graphics that you would receive if you wanted to post. And again, there are two ways to do that. If you wanted to share information that FxSN already has on their social media platforms, you can either just repost it, which is really just sharing it on your own, or you could take this and then post it yourself. The easiest way is actually to just reshare, so reposting it. And I know there are folks that are on the line, so I'll talk about Instagram and Facebook and how to repost and share there. If you're using LinkedIn, the share feature is similar to Facebook and also with Twitter as well. So if you're using Instagram, you want to go to an app that is for reposting. And at the time that I got it, it's Repost Plus is actually a free app, and it allows you to copy the text from something and the graphic as well, and then it goes onto your feed automatically. And I won't go through the instructions, but basically, again, you'll just take a repost application, put it onto your phone, and then if you're going onto the Instagram feed for FxSN and you see something you like, you would just copy the link or copy it, go to your repost app, and then it will walk you through the steps of reposting it to your channel. And if you have your phone right now, hopefully, and Nancy, I don't know if you can put this in the chat, but you can go through these instructions and try to do that on your own. For Facebook, if you're using Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, the sharing feature on those platforms, it's a lot easier. At the very bottom here, and I just did a screenshot of something from FxSN's Facebook page, but you'll just click here, the share button's on the right. And for Twitter, you'll go over to share as well, which is this right, it looks like an arrow going up. That's where you can share. Oh, I'm sorry. No, the arrow is actually, it's this for Twitter. I don't go on Twitter that much. For Twitter, it's actually this right here where it says 83.4. That means 83,000 people have reposted this on their Twitter feed. Nancy.
Yeah, I've always had a question about on Instagram. It seems like there's a story and there's also photos. And sometimes I can't remember which it is, but I think if I click on a photo, I can share it widely. I think if I click on a story, I can only send it to certain people. And if I share something widely, which I think goes on my account, then I can also send it to certain people. Can you explain the difference between a story and a photo on Instagram?
Yes, that is a great question. So a story, I think because a lot of younger kids were using, I can't think about, Snapchat. So the feature of the story is that it lasts for 24 hours. And if you don't put it in your highlights, basically that's a folder within Instagram, then it's no longer there. So it disappears. If you do it within your feed, so that's where you can see it, on the scrolling part, then that basically will be there forever. It's just a part of your pictures. It's a part of, it's a part of your, I won't say stories because that's confusing, but it's a part of your feed. And then stories, yes, the share feature on that is you can share it out. If you're sharing somebody else's story, it depends on what their setting is. So if they're public, then it allows you to share it out. If they're not, then they have to sometimes give you that, permission to share the story. So
Oh,
so the bottom line is that if you are looking at sharing something on your feed, it's probably best to use the feed part versus a story.
okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
Yep. And then so yeah, so that's how you can easily share. So this is, let's see here, let me just give you an example. So this is an example here. Of civilian, so this is an example that we did a while ago, civilian oversight in the news. Again, depending on your comfort level of sharing, you could either get this via email from us, and then what you would do is simply copy and paste the text on the left, and then use this graphic, which you would add to your photos, and then add it onto whatever social media platform that you are using. And we'll always, if we're referencing articles, newspapers, or we're quoting someone, not from our original text, if they didn't tell someone from Vixen, then it's always best to, just like a bibliography, right? It's always best to reference it and provide the link to the full article, or where the quote's coming from. Vixen uses another application, and I don't want to go into detail about that, but it's called Linktree. And what it allows you to do is it puts a library of all of the links that you use and that you want your users to be able to reference later on. So we have that, and we post our news articles, anything that we have that's a URL, an invitation, for example, from last night's event, that will be in our link tree. And so hashtags are extremely important because it's actually used as, and again, to simplify this, you'll use it as, say, a search tool, right? And you want to use words that have a lot of hits already. And by hits, meaning people have already searched for it, so it will come up for folks if they if they put an alarm for themselves to get everything that has hashtag San Mateo County, or everything that has hashtag civilian oversight. To be, from a personal standpoint, if, for example, you're interested in hiking, like I think I have hashtag hiking. So whenever somebody posts about hiking, it could be all the way on the other side of the world, then I'll get that post in my feed. It'll come up. So you don't want to fill it up with too many hashtags. And once you start to put in the hashtag or the pound sign, as some of us know from bygone years, so the hashtag, once you start typing in, say, San Mateo County, it will actually show you how many times it's been used. So if it's less than 100, that means it's a fairly new hashtag. You're trying to put it out there. If it has, 1,000, 2,000, then that means this is something that people continually go back to. San Mateo County comes up a lot for folks. Hashtag sheriff comes up as well. The reason that we wouldn't put Vixen San Mateo County as a hashtag is because it actually has its own feed. So we want people to be drawn back to the feed. And that way they go directly to us. Oh, I don't know what this Vixen SMC is. You go to their feed, you follow us, you go to the webpage. Those are the things those are the differentiators between the @Vixen SMC and then using a hashtag. So when you're trying to look something up on either Facebook or Instagram, what they're doing is using the data from that hashtag to determine, what's going to come up in your search, in your search box. Does that make sense for folks?
Yes, yeah.
And I didn't want to go over it in too much detail because it does take just practice. to actually repost something. If you've never done it before, then, you'll fumble around a little bit, but it's really, it's not very difficult. And there are also kind of step-by-step instructions as well to download the application. And then how do you go through the repost?
Joy, can I ask a quick question here?
Sure, of course.
This is Becca. So I'm really not very good at this kind of stuff at all, but am I understanding that normally I post things, I do that all the time, I repost things. If I add a hashtag with something like you were suggesting, then that brings more readers automatically. Is that?
Yes.
Okay, I just want
Yes.
to make sure. I thought that's what you meant, but I want to be clear. Thank you.
Correct. Like if you are obsessed with, mountain biking, so you hashtag mountain bike, hashtag mountain biking, things that are related to that, then things that, the things that will come up for you will be things related to that. So that's why we've put in, there's not a lot, people are still hashtag sheriff oversight. It's not really huge yet. So what we're trying to focus on is San Mateo County. I think I could probably also put in hashtag SMC as well, because that's a hashtag that folks use to reference anything within our county. And then also if for example, we were looking at, I think there was one post where it was the Redwood City Pulse. So they have a feed. Instead of using a hashtag, then I would just add RW Pulse, so that they will, when they go into their feed, they'll actually say, hey, it looks like Fixin used our post, so thank you for that. And hopefully it becomes reciprocal with other groups and organizations. Sometimes we'll get something from SMC Dems. They'll share events with us. I'll do the same and share back our events to them. So then it becomes, again, just this community of folks where we have like-minded concerns, and we know what page we're on, so we're going to share things out for folks. You don't have to add anything, which is the great part about sharing, meaning you don't have to add in your own comments, and preferably you don't want to do that. I mean, this is, we want to keep it as factual as possible. So if you are going to add a comment to it, it might be, this was a really important topic for me, and then you leave it at that, and then you let the post speak for itself.
Thank you.
Very welcome. Thanks for that question. So hashtags, try it out and see, just take a look at what comes up. Again, it's metadata. It's what they use to kind of track what you're interested in, and then it'll start to feed into, go into your social media feed. The other thing that we can share with you is not only just reposting, but it's also good to post your own experiences or why oversight is important to you. When it comes to nonprofit work, if you have a story to tell, and if this is an important cause for you, your followers, for most of us, right, we don't have 1 million followers, right? I mean, our followers will be people within our community, people that we've worked with either at work or through our other nonprofits. They want to know how you are connected to this topic and why they should buy into it as well. So there is definitely marketing to this. It's definitely a marketing type of tool, but you make it really personal. And here's a graphic that you could certainly use. And again, we can share out with you, but it's a simple post, why I support oversight. And as you can see, we have these, I didn't explain it earlier, but we have QR codes for all of them. If someone is viewing this on their computer, then they can use their phone, and click on the QR code to go to our website and find out more about oversight, who's endorsing us, who's supporting us, what events do we have. So that's why that hashtag is there. Again, because it's a marketing tool, we want folks to be able to go to Fixin, our website, and find out more if this post really, spoke to them. But in terms of personal posts, again, using experiences of why oversight is important to you. Oversight is important because I have multiracial kids and they've been profiled, or, something like that. I mean, that's, again, but it has to be your story. you don't want to share someone else's story because then it just doesn't, it's not genuine. And people can see that through the posts that you have. Even if it's not well thought out, but they can read that this is a personal issue for you, or you are very passionate about it, then again, this is what draws people to your Instagram feed, and more importantly, to the cause that you're supporting. So I think these sorts of posts speak volumes, the personal touch. Every once in a while, we will post pictures of our events, and people like to see that who are the people behind this work. You know, and it's not just these pretty graphics that we put up here. So again, once you start to get comfortable and you don't want to just repost, you can certainly ask for suggestions. If there is, you know, if there's a current event that speaks to you and it's related to oversight, you can create your own post. It doesn't have to, you don't even have to use the FxSM logo. But what we would suggest is, if you're doing that, is tag FxSMC. So then we can either reshare that, or we can say, hey, you know, Becca posted this and we really want to share that out with folks. Any questions? Nancy.
Yeah, just to clarify, if I want someone to see my post, I think that I know this works on Twitter, but I don't know about the other apps. If I want a supervisor to see it, for instance, if I do @ncorso@smc.org, will she see it in her feed if I put her Twitter handle in it? And does that work for Instagram?
It works for Instagram and it works for Facebook. Yes. If you don't want to put them in the comments, I'll call it the comments field, is where you put the texts of the graphic that's associated with it, then you will tag them. So it will be @Noelia, right? It will be @Sheriff Christina Corpus. I think that's her new handle. But yes, that way when they look into their feed, they'll say, oh, someone tagged me on this. It must be something that they want me to see, or something they're inviting me to. So sometimes you'll go into a post and then, you know, you'll kind of hover over it, and then you'll see the folks that are tagged in that particular post. Sometimes I'll look at other people's posts and then just look through who has been tagged. And if it's a cause that is similar to ours or an organization that we work with, then I'll use that opportunity to follow that person, because then hopefully they will follow us back. Is, you know, when you start to follow people, then you follow them back. The important thing is, and hopefully I haven't missed a lot or any, but you want to use this opportunity to engage with folks as well, right? I mean, in a positive way. If there is a comment and you know, someone from an organization that went to our event said, I had so much fun at this event, even if you just do a really quick response and said, hey, it was great to have coffee with you, then that sort of engagement, as small as it is building community. It's building your networks, which is important to the work that we do. Again, very, very small acts is, one, making it personal, two, responding to someone when you post something, keeps the followers that you have engaged in the topics that are important to you. And I'll also hopefully gain more followers, not just to the feed, which is just a tool that we're using, but to our cause. Okay, so let me quickly, let me go back to sharing the presentation, and I've just got a couple more things to share, and then we can just keep it open. So let me pause sharing, and then we'll go back to the presentation. All right, hopefully you can see the small presentation and not the full presentation. How do I get started?
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So how do I get started? So again, depending on the comfort, so the social media toolkits that I have, they have examples, but if there is a current event, then if you'd like to get added to, added as and I'll call them ambassadors because that's what they're called on Instagram. But if you'd like to be a part of the social media movement to send information out, then just send us an email, and then you'll get announcements and posts with the reminders of how to post and what the etiquette is, and also the graphics that you need to post. So I think that's probably easier than just shooting out a social media toolkit to you. That feels like a lot when you're going through it. It might be easier to just send them as we want to post something. And then I think, importantly, as a start, if you're not already doing it, then make sure you're following, you're liking, and you're sharing FxSMC on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. I think we have enough folks covering all of that, but if it's just one that you use very often and you're comfortable with it, then that's probably the tool that you want to stick with. Again, if you're using Facebook, continue to use Facebook. You don't have to move over to Instagram unless that's something that you want to do. But as an organization, that's what I do. If I am not running the social media, I make sure that I am following the channel, and I'm also liking, posting, and sharing as often as possible, because remember, it's your networks that bring folks in. The nonprofits that you're working with, your friends, that's how they get engaged in the work that we're doing, is by you sharing FxSMC's posts. And that was it for the formal presentation. I wanted to I always have to have a picture of a dog in there. So there's a cute dog. And I will stop sharing.
This is so helpful.
Yeah, very helpful. Thank you. Nancy, what you just posted slide deck, that's the slides we've just seen. Is that correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
Joyce slides, and in that there's links to the social media reposting and the social media suggested posts.
Awesome. Great. Thank you.
Joy, can you explain again the difference between your two toolkits, the one for reposting and the one for suggested posts?
Sure. So if you're comfortable, the suggested posts are your personal reactions, right? And that would be you using the graphic of, why I think oversight is important, or why I think the Board of Supervisors should support this. And then we'll provide the graphics, and then you're providing the content. So that's the one toolkit, right? Where you're comfortable enough, you're doing your own posts, but possibly using our designs. And then the other is really is the easier way, because you're just reposting what we've already shared on social media and sharing it to your networks. So I would try that today. If you aren't doing it already, which most people are comfortable with, my daughter just shared something, I'm going to reshare it to all of my family and friends as well. It's as easy as doing that. You can even, again, if you haven't, it's always good, even if you're resharing a post, is to say to your followers, why is she resharing this? I have no idea what FxSMC is. And you'll say, this is a group that I'm working with. And then you can leave it at that. And then they can read the article or read what's going on with Fixin. But again, if you're blindly resharing things, sometimes it's not enough context, and you want to give, you want to say, hey, my friend Jim is the board of directors president, so support this. I mean, those sorts of things matter. Again, that small personal touch, it's just like speaking face to face to someone. With the amount of time that we're on social media, this is how a lot of people get connected to causes.
Joy, I wanted to say something. Elsa's planning to put together a little email. We're going to try to get people to donate. And it's kind of a nice idea for Valentine's Day, you know, if put your money where your heart is. And our goal would be $5,000 for the year. And that's the kind of thing that once she does it, you would do a graphic for it and put it on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter. And then we would all share it. You would want all of us to share it kind of widely. And we'd have, I think, thinking of what you're saying, we'd have a little note saying, this is a cause that matters a lot to me for Valentine's present. Could you please donate to FxSN or something?
Yes, and that this is a great opportunity. I mean, we're not, our sole purpose is not for fundraising, right? But we specifically are looking at fundraising for this. This is a great opportunity for folks to actually become, you know, show why this is personal to them, why this cause is important. And in the comments, I'm just sharing Millbrae Kids. So Millbrae Education Foundation is a group that I work closely with, and I was the board president for a couple of years. We're just solely raising funds, right? It's an education foundation. So if you look at some of those posts, a lot of the posts that get the most hits are when we have kids in there, when we're saying personal things, when we've got pictures. And here is the same thing, right, Nancy? I mean, you could post a picture of you and Jim at an event, you know, going out to see the board of supervisors. I wish we had more pictures like that, but, you know, pictures where you're actually talking to people, you're out on the streets, and you know, the picnics that we've had, those are pictures that make a difference. And you can say, hey, this is our event that we had. We're raising money, and this is why we're raising money.
Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah.
Those sorts of posts, I would make them a little bit more personal. I would certainly create a template that folks could use, and then just, you know, put in there, like I've done in the social media, this is where you insert your personal story. This is where you're telling people why this is important to you.
Okay, Joy, I have a question. Let's assume that, you know, there is a news article. Let's take the article that came out regarding, you know, the recent payout by the county. And I added a quote to that, you know, something to the effect that, you know, this is why we need oversight, you know, to make these things. And then I posted that. I want that to go out to all my friends. How would I do that?
So this is your own personal post, not something that's already on FxSN?
Right. But I took a news article, and I want to take that news article and make a comment. Now I want to post it, but I want it to go out to everyone.
Oh, so for that one, you would just take your, and what, well, let me ask you first, what medium are you using? Is it going to be, is it Facebook?
Facebook.
Yep. So then that one's easy because and so I probably should have started there, but with Instagram, it's visual, right? Folks are really looking for pictures, they're looking for graphics. Facebook, not as much, right? I mean, you can go from pictures to just words. So you would take, if it's the New York Times article that you're referencing, you would just copy and paste that link. And then right underneath that is where you would tell your story of this is why we need oversight. And then after that, after your last sentence, then you would put at FxSMC, then you'd put your hashtags. All of the hashtags that we want to use for FxSN should be very consistent so that we start to grow the number of searches for that, or it makes it easier to search for it and search for us. And then also it's consistency as well.
Great. Okay.
Can I share for a minute, I think what you posted on that article on Facebook. So you posted this on Facebook today. Joy, and another thing I'm thinking, Jim, that might be good because it would help us too, is you could go to FxSN San Mateo County's Facebook page and share that post.
Oh, okay.
Because that's what I try to do is share a post that's already up there. So what Joy did was wrote a paragraph, she gave some hashtags, and then she said oversight in the news, and there's a link to the article in there.
Excellent.
So that's one idea. Yeah. I think that's good because it makes it brings FxSN more into the center. Because I can post on FxSN's Facebook and and LinkedIn, and I always try to do that, and Twitter, and then I try to do the original post on Fixin's social media, and then I switch gears and go to my own personal social media and share it.
Yes, that's a great idea. And then so then what you can do there, Jim, is you can go to Fixin's page, go to the bottom, and then on the right, of course, share it. But then that's where you add it can be just a one-liner, right?
Right. Okay.
And then that's it. And then you don't have to, all the rest would be in there.
Excellent.
Really helpful. Thank you.
I think that's good too, because it raises the interest in Fixin. So some of your friends, then they might click on that on Fixin's County's Facebook page.
And I want to put that teaser in there by having a quote, here's a great article on whatever, and to get them to not only read this, but then click on the article too. Right.
Exactly. Right. And I think we have I'm sorry, I don't know who B phone is, but I think
it's Bill. I think it's Bill.
Oh,
Newton.
okay.
Yeah.
It's Barbara.
Oh,
Barbara.
Hello, Penny.
And here's
Hi.
Penny too.
Barbara
Penny.
and your children.
I want to be baghead.
No, you don't, Colin. Joy, quick question. I mean, I only use Facebook really, and I kind of like everything that comes through from Fixin. I've shared a couple of posts. You talking about like tagging elected officials? Presumably I don't know. Is that something that you guys would want to really coordinate and have come from the Fixin account, as opposed to someone who's sharing a Fixin post? And then from a point of view of having like a private profile, I mean, like I have a Twitter handle, but I hardly use it. I've not been in LinkedIn since I stopped working, but I'm planning on getting back on again.
Mm-hmm.
Like, can you tag someone who's a public figure, but like, how do they know it's come from you if you're not connected? I'm just wondering that, could you explain a little about the connection if you start tagging people in the public?
Yeah, that's a really great question and an important one, Barbara, because if I would say that if, as a Fixin volunteer, right, if you are going to share a post and we have not tagged an official, then you probably don't want to tag the official, because those are, when you're tagging an elected official or someone who is really, who are trying to influence in this, then we want to use that tag sparingly, right? We want to use it when we really want them to see it. I'm less concerned about like the journals, like Daily Journal or, like the San Mateo County Daily Journal. But if it's an elected official, we want to tag them only if we want to get their attention, right? Or if it was like for Ray Mueller, since he was at the event, tag him because he went. Thank you for coming, Ray. But if it's and I say just, but if it's a post, for example, for the payout, that's more of an FYI. This is a news article, and we don't need to tag officials on that. So I guess the short answer is no, Barbara. If we're not tagging them, then you probably don't want to tag them as a volunteer. I can't influence what you're doing as an individual, but as a volunteer, you probably don't want to tag them.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. That's what I thought, but I haven't ever tried to tag someone I'm not actually personally connected to before. I wasn't even sure how that would work potentially.
No, that's a really great question. I mean, they may not respond to you, but they do get it in their feeds. And so I use it. I'll always use it sparingly.
That's a good question. Good answer.
Joy, just to be clear, tagging means on Facebook when if I start to say I post something that you did and I put Joy and then your name pops up and I let your name pop up. Is that what tagging is? I mean,
Yes, that is tagging, right? Like in your personal. Yep, exactly. Like in your personal life, you're tagging folks who might be in the photo, or you want them to see the photo of your vacation. When it comes to say nonprofits, then you're tagging someone that you would like to know about the event, right? Or to know about the work that you're doing. Or again, if Noelle is going to an event, we can tag her for that.
Right.
Yep. And then the hashtags, those are a little different. I just tried the hashtag FxSMC for the latest post. But
I saw that.
if you try, so if you I don't know, Nancy, if you can go back there, but if you click on the hashtag whenever you're in there, and you can do that for Instagram as well, then it should pop up other instances of that hashtag where it comes up. So if you see it's in blue, anything that's in blue, you
So
can
if I
either
clicked on
click on
FX,
it.
okay, let's see.
Yeah.
Other
this
posts
is-
from us.
So exactly. So you'll see what's posted. If it were San Mateo County, if you use San Mateo County, that might actually come up with other types of posts.
Right.
And the one small thing to note, the reason like my main platform is Instagram, and Instagram, unfortunately, it's owned by Facebook, but it doesn't use URLs within your comments field, which is why we use Linktree for Instagram. So what I'll do is, you'll see it looks like it's duplicative, but it's not. I will actually say go to our Linktree, or here is the URL, because once we go into Facebook, as you can see, it uses URLs, so you can post it directly on there, which is the great
That's
thing about
amazing, yeah.
Facebook. Yeah.
And I did click on hashtag San Mateo County, and I'm getting Chris Rasmussen and Noelia and Christina.
Yep, because they're
It's-
using, because what's happening is that means they were using these hashtags.
Yeah, like here, Samaritan House using that hashtag.
Mhm,
Okay, that's really good to know.
mhm.
That
And
makes
then, I mean,
sharing.
it's a great, I mean, when you know these little things, I mean, these are things that you just kind of either you learn along the way, but if you look at those hashtags, some people use them and they're putting an entire sentence as a hashtag. That's not how the hashtag works. It's simple, and then you start to search for hashtags that people are using more often. And again, everything that you're doing on social media as it relates to the work that we are doing is very mindful. I mean, this is not, and I think that goes for personal posts as well, actually, but this is an instance for you to say, hey, I really hated what they did at the Board of Supervisors meeting. It's really more as your platform to elevate the work that we're doing, to use it as a positive tool, and in instances when we have to get people's attention.
Joy, another quick, not very savvy question about Facebook. So when I'm sharing this, what's the difference? I think I know, but I'm not sure. What's the difference between sharing to friends, sharing to feed, or sharing to public? Your story public?
That is also a great question. So Facebook, they've been trying to have more, to be more mindful of privacy. So you can change this in your overall settings, but I think what Facebook has done recently is also for each post, you can decide who you're going to share it to. Like
Right.
some people have, I forgot what it's called, but they can be your close friends. Oh, acquaintances, right? You can have a list of acquaintances. And then if you share it public, that means if they're not your friend, they'll see that too. And if you put hashtag San Mateo County, if you post it to public, anyone that searches San Mateo County, and this is we were the latest ones that posted about San Mateo County, they will see that in their feed.
So if I put it to public, it goes out to people outside of my connections.
Correct.
If I put it to feed, it goes to,
It goes to your feed, and then whoever you have that's allowed to see your feeds on a regular basis, because you can control your feeds as well. Not only can you control your posts, but you can control your feeds. Do you want it limited to 5 people in your life? Or, is it to your 500 friends that you have on Facebook? So that's why there's a difference, right? Because you have your public, which is to all world. You have your feeds, depending on how you've configured your settings, and
Okay.
then to your friends. Those could be 2 different worlds. It could be the same for you. It
Yeah.
could be 2 different worlds.
okay, thank you.
Mhm,
Yeah,
you're
makes
welcome.
sense.
Yeah,
And
no, that's actually a great question.
that's a really good question. John had a question in chat. Well, he did say, would you be willing to discuss Instagram with me? But he also said, John and Kay said, how do I restrict the content that comes into Instagram?
Oh, that comes into your feed? Oh, I mean, that's a good question. I don't know that I've, it depends. I don't know if it's necessarily the content, but you can control, like you can control the handles. You can block people. And that's a great question. I don't know if you can block certain content. Like if I hated, hiking, which I don't know if I could restrict all of the hiking feeds. Let me check on that. That's a great question, John. I don't think you can, but I can see if you can control the content that you receive.
Joy, is it common that people just like weird people, fake users follow you on Instagram? I get that every day. I get a few of them and I have to block them. And
actually, you know what?
Thing?
Yeah, that's a great question. And this might answer your question a little bit, John. With Instagram, you can change your settings on there. So if you have a public handle, then that means anybody can just click on follow and then automatically follow you. We have that setting for FxSN. So anybody that wants to follow us will follow us. We just have to weed out every once in a while. We'll get weird ads or something. So I'll just block those folks and label it as junk. For your personal, it's the same thing, but depending on how comfortable you are, you can set it as private, where if someone wants to follow you, you'll actually get that request. And then your feeds, John, really are related to the content that you're looking up, and often enough, because it is now that intuitive. It's also if you happen to follow, I'm just looking at something from Kevin Bacon right now, right? So if I liked something from Kevin Bacon like 3 days in a row, then it might send me additional content on Kevin Bacon, which you probably don't want, but it's basically the algorithms and just checking to see how often you're looking at something and why you're looking at that. And then, it will even go over to your Google, which is why it's important nowadays. When you get an email or if you go into a site and it asks about cookies, if you accept all, it will track that on every single feed that you're using. So if you say accept all, that means that they can use the what you're clicking on to give you feeds in Instagram, to give you feeds in Facebook. You can actually say reject all. It doesn't take you out of the site. It takes an extra click, but it really prevents junk or content that you don't want from coming into your feeds. I've been trying to be really mindful of doing that, because when you're on a retail app, for example, it's going to capture your email address because it asks for that, right? It's actually going to capture the clicks that you have on certain items, whether that's Amazon or, you're on Macy's or whatever. And so if you find that you're on Instagram the next day, and then all of a sudden you're seeing, that looks like the dress that I just bought, it's just a part of the algorithms.
Yeah, interesting.
So if I want to share the post that just went up, I think Jim, you posted the Shenandoah Kobe. If I want to share that on my Facebook, you said not to use the hashtag FxSN San Mateo County. Is that correct?
Well, you can, but there's not a lot of, it's already on there, again, because I was just testing it out,
Right.
but I remembered why I don't use it. There's not a lot of content out there with hashtag FxSMC, so it's not going to generate a lot of additional buzz, if you will. The hashtag San Mateo County is used very often, which is why every post you'll get that. Now, if you're sharing it, you don't have to put in your own hashtags, because the original post already has hashtags on it.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yep.
Oh, that's interesting. Right.
And now, one thing to remember is you probably don't want to tag elected officials. However, if you're with a nonprofit and you wanted them to see that, and and they may not have seen it, then instead of sending them an email, be like, oh, this might be important for ACLU, so let me tag Barbara, let me tag Beth. Then you can certainly, feel free to do that. If they're your friends on Facebook, feel free to do that. And again, use this as, feel free to play around with it. There's, that's certainly okay. Like if you want to go on to FxSN's Facebook and you want to comment, that's a start. if you want to try to share it, again, that's a start.
Yeah, Joy, during Noelia's campaign, we were told to comment on posts and that gives them more visibility. And so would you recommend we all kind of comment or like fix and post, comment on?
Yes, just like, we'll follow, like, and share. Always
Okay.
follow, like, and share. I'm usually more, when it comes to a campaign, I push that a lot more because again, that's how you're drawing followers, right? If nobody knows what your campaign is about, then you want everybody in your network to follow and share, and
Mhm.
also to comment. I had a really good time at that, text banking for Noelia, and then you would
Mhm.
use your hashtags, right?
So
And then for the picnic, that's a great example. If you attended, put in there who was someone that you met and you had never met before, and they're someone who could be influential in our cause. Then you would tag them,
You
and
tag
that's
them,
okay.
yeah.
And that's okay because you're just saying, it was so nice to meet you at this event, right? If it's an elected official, that's an opportunity to say, hey, Congressman, whatever, so nice to meet you at this event. Thank you for being there.
So follow, like, and share and tag original posts, not reposts.
You can tag reposts, but we want to be mindful of when we're
Yeah,
tagging
specific.
elected officials or
Okay.
influential folks.
Got it, I think.
And I mean, if there are any questions, feel free to reach out and ask. I mean, we're monitoring our social media feeds. So if something comes through, not that it has, and it looks like it's inappropriate or people, folks are putting too much feeling into it, then, we would certainly let folks know.
And maybe for tonight, what people could do is look on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, or Instagram. And we posted that article about the payout for Chinedu's case and share that like Jim's going to do. Share it on your own other
Right.
feeds.
We're gonna share that, but we're not gonna we're not gonna tag that because it's been tagged. Is that correct?
Well, no, the hashtags, you don't have to put hashtags, but if there are folks in your network who you feel you really want to share this with, then you can tag them.
Got it. I'm
Yep.
sorry, yeah. Hashtag versus tags. Got it, I think.
Yep. So when you're
Hashtag
reposting something, you don't have to create new hashtags. They will already have hashtags on
Got
there.
it. Got
Yep.
it. Hashtag.
Mhm. Yeah, and I would say that, yes, use that as your homework tonight. Take one of your social media handles that you're using, doesn't have to be all of them, the one that you're most comfortable with, and share out the article.
And for people to know, it's in the New York Times. And so Karina took it as a shared article so that the paywall won't affect it. And she posted it as a featured story on our website. And then that's the version that Joy posted on Instagram, which feeds to Facebook and Twitter. And then I post them on LinkedIn once she does that.
And the one thing that I would say is that, oh, Barbara, I'm sorry, you had another question.
Joy, yeah, I suppose it comes back again to like, when would you be tagging, on what platform, I guess, would you be tagging an elected official? I'm so out of the loop with like LinkedIn. So if you're not connected to that person, are they going to see that? I understand they would see it on Facebook. Twitter's more open. And my other question was, it kind of comes back to the Facebook, where to share. So we talked about feeds. There's some events that I will share in some neighborhood groups. So like, for example, the recent Field to Prison pipeline that Lichia was involved with, shared in some of the mums groups that I'm in. There's like Being Neighbourly, San Mateo County, Neighbours Helping Neighbours, things like that do some kind of social justice presence or just generally helping the community, right? So some of our events are relevant there, and I make a point of sharing there. Is there anywhere that's like off limits, I suppose, like with the ACLU where we don't really use Nextdoor? Is there anything that's off limits? And then also I'm just really struggling, like, on what platforms or in what circumstances would we tag elected officials when our profile is private? I'm trying to join the dots there. That I'm a wee bit stuck with that, but I don't use anything other than Facebook really at the moment.
Yeah, no. So, I mean, that's a really great question. I think let's not tag elected officials. We'll make that decision from, from kind of the top and say, hey, we should really tag Ray in this. We should tag all of the Board of Supervisors in this. And we'll only typically, I'll say we only typically do that if we need to send out a letter and we need to get their attention, right? So I would say, let's individuals who are posting, don't tag elected officials. And then in regards to your question on, is there anything off limits? I mean,
think Nextdoor is off limits.
I was going to say, Nextdoor is just so I mean, I originally went on there just to see what was happening in my neighborhood, but it is just such it can be such a toxic place to exchange information. So I would say that is off limits. Everything else is, I think we've covered all the other platforms. I think that's the only one.
Okay. And Penny had a question as well, which is, when is this finishing? So I better go and do my bedtime stories.
It is a wrapping up. I mean, the two things that I want to end, or the three things I want to end with, is try as your homework, right? Try the article out, try to reshare that. The second is, don't be afraid to reshare and post. Remember how busy you are. I know that I'm extremely busy. So these for me are reminders. If I see something and somebody's resharing it, it's just an opportunity for them it's for you to bring it to the top. I say top of their email box, right? But to the top of their to-do list. So don't be afraid to reshare. Don't think that you're inundating anybody with anything, because for me, I see it as a reminder. And then the third thing is just really be mindful. I mean, as we're mindful when we're on these Zoom calls or we're in person, it's the same thing with social media. I think what I hate about Nextdoor, or any actually platform, is people think that there isn't a person behind these issues. There aren't people behind these comments. There are. So just be very mindful. And I'm not saying that anybody isn't on this call or who wants to use our social media, but I think that's important, is that we still have to be human beings on social media.
That's so
Hopefully that
great.
was helpful for everybody.
Very
That
much.
last
Thank you
comment
so
or
much.
question from Penny was not to rush you, Joy. We weren't meant to rush you.